Turn off every light in your house right now and stand still for 10 seconds. Even if nothing is wrong, even if you know exactly where you are. Something in you tightens. Your ears get sharper. Your eyes strain to catch a shape that isn't there. You're an adult. You know monsters aren't real. So why does your body refuse to believe you? This isn't a childhood habit you never grew out of. It's older than you. Older than your parents. Older than your species. Older than the first campfire ever lit. The fear of the dark isn't a glitch in your brain. It's a feature. And once you understand why it's there, you'll never look at a dark room the same way again. Start with the obvious question. What actually changes when the lights go out? Nothing in the room is different. The furniture is the same. The walls are the same. The only thing that's changed is your access to information. In daylight, your eyes do almost all the work of keeping you safe. They scan a room in a fraction of a second and tell your brain instantly that nothing is wrong. In darkness, that channel shuts down. And your brain doesn't respond to missing information by relaxing. It responds by escalating. This is where the research gets interesting. Psychologist David Rudner and vision scientists studying Nyctophobia, the clinical term for fear of the dark, have found that darkness doesn't create fear directly. It removes the evidence that would normally cancel fear out. Your brain is constantly running a background threat assessment process. And in daylight, your eyes feed it a constant stream of all clear signals. Take away the light, and that stream goes silent. Silence isn't neutral to a threat detection system. Silence gets treated as a possible warning. Here's an experiment that captures this perfectly. Researchers studying anxiety and ambiguous environments have shown again and again that humans are far more anxious in situations with uncertain risk than in situations with a known, even higher risk. A room where you can clearly see there's nothing dangerous feels safer than a pitch-black room where nothing dangerous is actually there either. The darkness itself isn't threatening. The not knowing is the threat. Your brain would rather see a small spider in the corner than not be able to see the corner at all. Now rewind further back. Much further. Before houses, before fire, before language. For nearly all of human evolutionary history, night was genuinely one of the most dangerous times to be alive. Anthropologist and researcher on human evolution, Richard Wrangham, has written extensively about how control of fire reshaped human survival. Precisely because before fire, darkness meant losing the one advantage humans had over almost every predator on the savannah: eyesight. Big cats, hyenas, and other nocturnal predators could see you long before you could see them. In that world, an ancestor who felt nothing, who wandered calmly through pitch-black terrain without a shred of unease, was an ancestor who got eaten. An ancestor who felt a jolt of dread at the edge of visibility, who froze, listened, and stayed close to the group, was an ancestor who survived to pass that jolt down. That's the part people miss. Fear of the dark isn't leftover superstition. It's a survival strategy that worked so well, it's still wired into you. Tens of thousands of generations later, even though the predators are gone. Evolutionary psychologists have a term for this mismatch. An evolved response outliving the environment that created it. Your amygdala, the almond-shaped structure deep in your brain, responsible for triggering fear responses, doesn't know that streetlights and door locks exist. It doesn't update its threat models based on your zip code or your century. It runs an ancient subroutine. Low light plus unknown surroundings equals elevated alert. It ran that subroutine for a species that didn't have flashlights. It's still running it in you. This explains something almost everyone has experienced, but rarely questions. Notice how much braver you feel the instant you turn a single light on. Not because the room becomes objectively different in any meaningful way. The floor is still the same floor. The corners are still the same corners. But your visual system regains its all-clear channel, and the ancient alarm stands down almost instantly. Light doesn't defeat a threat. It defeats uncertainty. And to your nervous system, those have always been treated as the same thing. There's also a social layer to this that researchers studying group behavior in early humans have pointed to. Darkness didn't just remove visibility of danger. It also separated individuals from the safety of the group. A lone human at night, out of sight of the tribe's fire, was exponentially more vulnerable than one sitting inside a ring of firelight, surrounded by others. This is likely why isolation intensifies the fear of darkness so much more than darkness with company. It's not really the dark itself your body fears most. It's the dark plus being alone. Put a friend in the room with you, and the exact same black space feels almost unrecognizably safer, even though nothing about the actual visibility has changed. Children experience an even more concentrated version of all this. And that's not a coincidence either. Developmental researchers have found that fear of the dark tends to peak somewhere between the ages of 2 and 8, right when a child's imagination is developing quickly. But their ability to evaluate real versus imagined threats is still immature. A child in the dark doesn't just lose visual information. They actively fill that gap with imagined shapes, because a young, rapidly developing brain treats "I can't verify what's there" as an invitation to simulate what might be there. And childhood imagination is not exactly conservative about what it simulates. Adults do a version of this too, just quieter. That brief, irrational certainty that something is standing at the end of the hallway is your brain running the exact same ancient fill-in-the-blank routine your ancestors relied on to stay alert. So here's the honest answer to the question you started with. You're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of what the dark takes away from you. Information, visibility, certainty, the presence of others. Your amygdala isn't malfunctioning when your pulse rises in an unlit room. It's doing exactly the job it was built to do, using a threat model that kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years before electricity existed. None of that means you have to like it. It just means the next time you flick on a light switch out of pure instinct, you're not being childish. You're running a survival algorithm older than civilization itself. One built by generations of ancestors who didn't get to see what was coming in the dark, but who taught their descendants, quite literally in their biology, to never stop looking. So turn off the lights again if you want to. Stand there for 10 seconds. Feel that same old tightening. That isn't fear malfunctioning. That's every ancestor you ever had standing behind you in the dark, still watching your back.